what amazes me the most is that the most exponential organization we have ever witnessed, probably in human history, is the Bitcoin. And sometimes we don't think about Bitcoin as an organization because it's something so different, right? It's a coin, is a store of value. It's also a community, is a bunch of developers working together. Is a founder that nobody knows who he is. So it's so different from anything that we have, that sometimes we don't even recognize as an exponential organization. But what strikes me the most about Bitcoin is their massive transformative purpose, because it began with a massive transformative purpose. It began saying we cannot trust our governments anymore, and we cannot trust our financial system anymore. And the whole concept of Bitcoin was born during the 2008 crisis. And that's what, and you see, like, Bitcoin started with this idea, this MTP. Let's change the way we exchange value between ourselves, with a new technology that doesn't have the necessity of any big institution, because we as humans, with the technology, with the computer interconnected, we can sort this out. And once it started like this, it became the fastest $1 trillion value ever. It's one of the most exciting communities in the world. Is one of the fastest growing technology adoption ever, just like the internet. And it's so amazing, and it still has like an organization. It has the Bitcoin Foundation around it. We don't know who the leader is, but right now any one of us can be a leader inside the Bitcoin community. And I believe that's really the power of their MTP. Everybody back then in 2008 was tired of all the news, talking about the big financial institutions and how they screw the economy, and how we were paying the price for their greed and all this. So this powerful purpose helped grow both the community and the impact on Bitcoin. And it's quite astonishing now that we're in like 13 years with the Bitcoin concept, and with transactions for like a little more than 10 years, we can see that the amazing impact that one simple idea can have on mankind, and that's really, really amazing. And that's the topic of today's conversation. How can we build an amazing and powerful MTP, right? And I'll start off like reminding you all what the EXO framework is all about, the Exponential Organizations Framework. And we didn't go through all the attributes yet, and we're doing this on the upcoming sessions. And today we're focused on the MTP, the massive transformative purpose, is where most successful companies starts. If you think about it, like Apple, they started building the computer. Well, because in the end, they didn't want the computer. They wanted the change in people's habits and the change on people's minds, where they could have their own computer and change the world with it. So most companies start with their MTP in mind, their massive transformative purpose. And there's a difference when we think about purpose. I can have a nice company purpose to like impact my community here, or my neighborhood, and I don't know, bring the best organic fruits for my community so they can eat better and healthier. But that might be a good purpose. It might be transformative, but it's not massive. And when we add those three words together, massive and transformative and the purpose, we think about global scale. just like the Bitcoin example. We want to change the financial institution. We want to have a new way of sharing value between us. I also think about the SpaceX example we have here. Their MTP is mankind needs to become human species actually needs to become an interplanetary species. That's a really powerful statement, right? Who doesn't want to work with a company that thinks that all of us should be living outside this planet? It's so cool, right? It engages people both on employee level. I'm being part of this massive purpose to really takes us out of Earth, and also it engages consumers and customers and clients and all this because it's so impactful. But let's understand, how can we build such impactful quotes that actually drive human behavior towards what we're thinking about. And the first thing we need to understand is that everything, the most important part or the most important aspect of a business is its brand. And what does that mean? It means that the brand is the reputation of your company. And when you lose that reputation, when you don't make sense to your customers anymore, your company is going down. And we have some clear examples here. And most people think that what killed Kodak and what disrupted Nokia back then was the technology, digital cameras and the iPhone and all this. But actually, it was their lack of brand vision. Because the brand was stuck inside one product and not focusing on the customer and how the customer behavior was changing, and Nokia tried for several years to not go into the smartphone revolution. They didn't believe in it, and it's quite astonishing. Nowadays, we only use the smartphone for everything, And what's really interesting is that once the brand gets disconnected from their customer, you lose most of the company's value. And what we saw with Nokia is really interesting. They were like a 200 and something $billion company, one of the highest market cap company back in 2007, 8, and 9, by the time of the launch of the iPhone. And nowadays they are worth like $25 billion. And that's a tenth of what they used to be. And still, until this day, Nokia is a very powerful company in Europe. It's a leader on the 5G technology and all this. It has amazing people and amazing R&D department. They build a lot of great solutions for the new B2B environment that they're focusing on. But they completely lost track of their main customer. And because of that, the business wasn't valuable anymore. And that's the first thing we need to bear in mind. The brand is the most important thing we have in a business. And how do we create a powerful brand? Well, the creation of a powerful brand goes through this brand triangle. In the first part, we have the ID mix, the identity. And the identity is very close to the purpose that we have, the MTP, or the massive transformative purpose. But the second part is really where everything happens, is the public mix. So you have your identity, you have like your logo, your code for the company, the famous slogan and all this. You have your colors, your brand guide, style guide, and all this. But you have your purpose inside your identity. And your purpose will connect with a specific target audience. And that's something really important. That's why here we have a triangle and we don't have like steps on a process of building a brand. The most important thing is that we understand the three of them together and interconnected, because your purpose is going to connect with a specific community, with a specific group of people, and this group have their pains, their aspirations, what they want to achieve within their lives, and how your purpose can help them achieve that. And finally, in order for you to take your ID mix, your identity, your purpose into that public, you need your marketing tools. You need your communication, you need your advertisement, you need your products, your pricing, your placement strategy, and all this. So the famous 4 Ps from the marketing mix. So what we need to understand is that those 3 items, they work together and they walk together. You have your identity, you connect with a specific target audience, and this target audience is going to understand your identity through the products and solutions that you bring for them. And if you get disconnected from the public, just like what happened with Nokia, if you disconnected with them and your ID mix doesn't have a clear purpose, is only focused on the product that you're launching, in the case of Nokia cell phones in the past, you have a problem, you know. And when this disconnection happens, you lose your business, you know, you simply lose the power of your business. And I see Wei Hong commenting here about like Netflix put Blockbuster Video into bankruptcy. Exactly, that's exactly what happened. You know, the public was changing, and their identity was focused on their brick and mortar stores, and not focused on what they wanted to bring to the customers, and what was their purpose, and how were they changing their customers' lives. You know, the only focus they had were in their marketing mix, and that's the biggest danger we have nowadays. In the last talk, I spoke a lot about the service thinking, when you don't think products anymore and you think the access people want to have on the service that your product is rendering. With the service economy and the service thinking, we think much less about the product itself, and we think much more with the customer in mind. So in order to create a great MTP, a great massive transformative purpose, we need to think about those 3 aspects. What is my identity? What I plan to do? What are my goals? What my company is here for? But also what is the audience we want to connect with, and how our solutions connect with them and clarify our identity. Okay. So when we're talking about creating brands, like powerful brands that have a big MTP, a powerful MTP, we want to go like way beyond your logo, because your logo is just a representation of who you are, but it doesn't end there. You know, the logo has a meaning, and this meaning is actually your identity mix and everything that goes behind your identity as a brand. And the MTP is at the core of everything that you're doing. The massive transformative purpose is at the core of everything that you're doing related to your brand. Now, what we are going to see in order to build this powerful brand is that your MTP cannot be something boring. Just like I mentioned on Bitcoin, you know, we want a new kind of financial institution. Actually, we want to exchange value without the need of financial institution. Oh my God, how can we do that? This is so powerful. This is so massive. This is so weird, so crazy, you know, so mind-blowing. So it can be boring. SpaceX example, humans must be an interplanetary species. So it's not boring. It's very exciting to work there. When we think Google organized the world's information, it's so cool, right? And they organized first the web, and then our emails, and then the streets in our planet. You know, now you can have like street view watch what is going on those streets and all this. So they're organizing everything. It's not boring, although sometimes organizing seems like something that's a little bit boring. It's not. It's really exciting, you know, to be able to organize the whole world. That's really cool. And when we think about not being boring, we also need to deeply connect with our audience, with our public, right? And in order to do that, we need to think about storytelling, our capability as a brand to tell stories and to tell impactful stories, right? So we are going to use storytelling as an engagement tool for our MTP. And from the story that we want to produce, like humans becoming an interplanetary species, that's a story, you know, and there's a whole story behind. So we started with rockets and several of the rockets blew up. And why do we think we need to go out of this earth and all this? So there's a story behind that MTP. So in order for us to get to the MTP, we're going to tell a powerful story. And my question for you, which is really easy to answer, is where is the best storytelling on the planet? And I'll check it out a little bit on the chat here to see if any of you try to guess where do we have the best storytelling on the planet. And I'm thinking geographically, actually, and there's a good spoiler in this presentation, which is quite easy to grasp once you realize that. So the best storytelling in the planet is exactly, Azar, it's in Hollywood. Yeah. So and why do I say that? Because the industry in Hollywood, the only thing they do is to produce nice stories. That's the only thing they do, you know. Oh, that's great. I see that Selvi sent from Facebook our own story. That's really great, Selvi. That's amazing. I like your concept. I was thinking more about like a business vision for great stories. That's why I was joking with Hollywood, because the business over there is producing stories. That's the only thing that they do, actually, right? And there are many impactful stories that we see over and over again. And every new year or every new decade, there's a powerful story that comes and transforms the way we see the world, our culture, you know, and we have new songs attached to it. We have new clothing and we have new products, and kids want to buy new toys and all this, all because of the power of the stories that the Hollywood industry tells us, right? So this is quite interesting. And why Hollywood? Let's figure this out together. What's a movie? Have you ever thought about what's a movie from a business perspective? Well, I have for this webinar. I have thought a long time about it, and I realized that a movie is basically a company with over a year of planning, but with a product that has a 2 hours lifetime. And although it only has a 2 hours lifetime, it can change our culture and makes billions of it out of it. So we need to learn from them. Because think about this, if your product can connect with people in such a deep level that in like 2 hours, I don't know, scrolling or touching your smartphone, whatever, and people get so excited about your product, just like in a movie, and you're able to change people's lives, you're in the right track, right? So that's our goal with storytelling. And okay, so when I was doing this research to understand how to build powerful stories, I came across this guy who is a famous designer called Philip Stark. He does like furniture design. He designed Steve Jobs' yacht and all this. And he said that when he's designing, he wants to understand like what are the people that are going to be using that product that he's building, But not only that, he wants to go back into the civilization that created that society, and he goes back for like ages and people and communities and all this, so he can really understand what's going on. And that's what I tried to do with storytelling and the Hollywood industry. And thanks God, I didn't need to go that far, because in the 40s, this guy called Joseph Campbell, he wrote this book called The Hero with a Thousand Faces back in the 40s, 1940. And what he realized in this book was that many of our famous mythologies, books like the Quran and the Bible and stories from the Greek mythology and all this, they had the same concept. The stories there had the same flow, the same framework. The only thing that changed was the characters inside and the background of the story. But the overall, the overview of the story and the framework of the story was basically the same. And he kind of he tried, like, quote unquote, he tried to prove that through this book, where he relates the story of several different myths and several different heroes all over the world in famous cultures, in different cultures from all over the world. And he got to a common framework. And as you can think of, back in the 40s, nobody liked that. And everybody thought, Joseph, you're out of your mind. There's nothing. He was a respected linguistic from the United States, but nobody took him seriously after that, because they thought, what, there's so many different stories. It can be that all these stories are kind of like the same. But in the 70s, this young man called George Lucas, he produced a movie. And this movie was about a family brawl in a galaxy far, far away. And you probably saw this movie before, which is Star Wars. And that's the impact that Star Wars had in the pop culture, in gaming, in music, in film, in visual effects and all this. And as we can see here, if you go like right in the middle of the screen, there's Return of the Jedi, if you're not seeing my mouse. And if you go a little to the right and down a little bit, you see that Photoshop is connected to Star Wars. And not only Star Wars had this huge impact in culture, it was also the largest box office back then, right? The largest of all time in movie history. So everybody was like, wow, that's so amazing. How did Star Wars manage to become so huge and so impactful? And what George Lucas explained was that Star Wars was basically Joseph Campbell's work on the hero with a thousand faces in a sci-fi environment with like different galaxies and a star war going on, right? And when he said that, everybody was looking again into Joseph Campbell's work, and they thought, oh, maybe Joseph Campbell was right. And we kind of like lost 30 years of using his concept to build the movie industry in Hollywood. And what exactly was Joseph Campbell doing and showing us? He was showing us the hero's journey. That's the name that he gave to his framework, or the monomyth, like a unique myth, okay? And how does the story, the hero's journey, works? You have a hero that lives in an ordinary world, is his daily life. When we think about Star Wars, we have Luke Skywalker living in a junk planet, right? And he's called to an adventure. And when we watch Star Wars, we know that he should be a powerful Jedi, but this hero refuses the call. refuses his calling. And his calling, this refusal might not be like personal, a personal refusal, but it can be like circumstances that make him refuse that calling. In the case of Luke Skywalker, his father went to the dark side of the Force, Darth Vader, right? Anakin Skywalker. So in order to protect Luke Skywalker from Anakin influence, they sent him out to live with his uncles in this very distant planet. But at some point, he meets a mentor. This hero meets a mentor. In the case of Luke Skywalker, is Obi-Wan Kenobi. And once he finds this mentor gives him a path. And Obi-Wan looks at Luke and says, you know, the Force is strong in you, is powerful in you, and we can train you to become a powerful Jedi. So he comes out of this ordinary world where he lives in, and he crosses the threshold. And now he's in a different place, a new world where he doesn't know much of the things going on in this new world, this special world. And for that, he needs to have allies, but he also finds enemies. He passes through different tests and all this. That's where most of movie happens in the step number 6 here. Tests, allies, and enemies. In Star Wars movie, we're seeing him flying out in the crossing the threshold. Luke Skywalker is flying out of his planet with Obi-Wan Kenobi, and then he finds Princess Leia, Chewbacca, and all those, Han Solo, and all those people, right? At some point, a battle starts to move in this hero's journey, and he approaches what we call the inmost cave, which he starts to go down into the path that will take him closer to his big challenge. And in the case of Luke Skywalker, we have this big battle between the Empire and the Resistance, right? And at some point, step number 8, he gets the ordeal, or he surpasses his big challenge. In the case of Luke Skywalker, he throws a bomb into the Death Star spaceship that the Empire was building. Once he does that, he finishes the battle. He gets a reward for that, because now he's the hero who saved the day. And he starts to go back home, and during this road back, he gets resurrected. Now everybody looks at Luke Skywalker not anymore as this small little boy from this unknown planet, but as a real and powerful Jedi who just ended the most important battle they had until now against the Empire. And now he has an elixir, which is his power to transform, and his use of the Force to really transform how the battle was going. So that's basically the hero's journey, and it's really based, if you think about, like in Greek myths, like Achilles, and when we think about famous characters like Abraham and all those heroes, they go through this same journey. Exactly as Azar. This summarizes every action movie and every anime, and actually most of the storytelling all over the world is really, the work of Campbell was to really analyze the history of storytelling and build a common framework. And afterwards, you know, the whole industry of movies and cinema and cartoons and all that started using the hero's journey to fulfill that. And if you think about, most recently, we had the Avengers group, you know, Captain America goes through this journey, Hulk goes through this journey, and we have Thor going through this journey. And then we have the group of Avengers in the first movie going through this journey together. and we have Nick Fury, who's the mentor that groups all of them together to destroy Loki in the first movie, and so on and so forth. So the hero's journey is a very powerful storytelling concept. It's some people consider it like the basis for storytelling, and just the first level, because then we have other types of story that you can tell. But most of the types of story we tell is always based on the hero's journey. Think about any movie that you want, even like Devil Wears Prada, which is a romantic comedy. You can go through the hero's journey. You know, Pretty Woman, old movie with Julia Roberts, goes through the hero's journey. So in any different setting, the hero's journey can happen when you're trying to bring your story. Now, the first exercise that I have for you to think of is, what is your story? And where are you in this journey? As an entrepreneur, as a startup founder, as a corporate entrepreneur, as someone who is trying to make a career change or anything. Think about this journey yourself. Where are you? And depending on where you are, you know what's going to happen next. If you're still like in the first few steps, maybe you're refusing the calling to build your startup, to start your exponential organization or your 10x startup. And what you need to find is a mentor that can guide you through this process. Maybe you're going through a very rough time with your company or your business or your career, and you know you just got to your inmost cave, and you need to go through this process, and probably by yourself, to get the ordeal. So think about yourself. Take a screenshot from this image, and later on, after we finish this webinar, think about that, where you are in this journey yourself. Okay, I think that's one of the most important exercises you can do in your life. But what we actually want is to understand, how can we build brands that are movie worth? You know, when you say, oh, look at that house, it's like a movie house, right? We want to build brands that give the same sense, right? We want to build companies that people look at it and think, wow, that's such an amazing company. So how do we do that? We need to adapt the hero's journey into the business. And the first question I have for you is, who is the hero? Who is the hero in a business? Do you want to guess? Please send your messages here on the chat or in Facebook comments so I can check it out. Who is the hero? Is it the founder? Is it like yourself, the CEO? Is your grandfather who became a big inspiration for you? I don't know. Is it Steve Jobs because you're a fan of him? Who you think is the hero when we think about the hero's journey into a business? That's the most important question we need to answer today. Failure. Failure is my hero. Well, the founder, Azar, well, I'm not sure. Well, if we think about business and we look at the story of business, there's a very famous founder called Sam Walton. He was the founder of Walmart, the current successful entrepreneur. And Sam Walton from Walmart, he once said one thing that's really interesting. He said, there's only one owner of the company, and that owner is the customer. Because if the customer takes his money out of this company and puts into another company, everybody from the president to the lowest level of the company, they're fired. There's no more company, right? My guess is we are the heroes. Sylvie mentioned on the Facebook, and also Ho Kim Hong said the founder, but actually is the client, the customer. The customer is the hero of the company, right? Because the the customer is the one that keeps the company rolling. Remember when I first spoke about the brand triangle and the ID mix, and if you get disconnected from your audience, your business is dead? That's what this is all about. The hero in the hero's journey is the customer, because he's the one that have the power to put money into your business so you can move your business further. And it doesn't matter how much money you can get from investors, at some point you need to bring value to the customer, and the customer will pay you back that value, right? So in the end, the most important piece, the most important person inside a business is the customer. If you lose your connection with your customer, you're gone, right? And when that doesn't happen, I have some like cool stories from Brazil. Two companies started using a lot of this storytelling concept, but all they were trying to say was about themselves. You know, oh, we are this great company, we do that and we produce that, and our product is this and this and that. And there was a story behind how the product was built and how the founder exactly who came home. We designed the hero journey for them. Perfect is the customer. So those two companies from Brazil, they were doing that a lot, you know, telling the stories of themselves. At one point, one of the stories of one of those companies was like the grandfather of the founder. He used to produce like snow-based ice cream, and I don't even think that is even possible. And he was living in Italy, and in the northern region of Italy, where there's a lot of snow and mountains and all this. But then the World War II came by, and he needed to flee from Italy, and he came to Brazil. And Brazil was a very hot and tropical country, so he didn't get any snow, and he became frustrated for the rest of his life. And his grandchild, after being a successful businessman, decided to make the difference for his to bring some nostalgia in and honor his grandfather's history, and he built this new ice cream shop. And those companies, they got sued here in Brazil because not only the stories were lies, but they were also disconnected from the customer. They were all focused on themselves, you know, on the company. Now, once we understand that the hero is the company, is the customer and not the company, and not the CEO or the founder or anything, we need to understand who the company is. And the only other important element that we have on the hero's journey is the mentor. The only important character that we have is the mentor, because he is the one that gives the path to the hero to achieve his goals. You understand this relationship? So we have the hero, which is the customer. He is in ordinary world trying to live his life, and he has some problem. And you as a company comes and becomes his mentor into changing his business, growing 10x, eating better, getting a healthier lifestyle, and so on and so forth. So the company is the mentor, the hero is the customer. Let's see an example, okay? And I hope you guys can hear my sound. I think so. All the audio is in English, but you have subtitles in Portuguese. I couldn't find another video that was better suited. So pay attention to the audio, and you understand the storytelling behind this ad.
Every little bit hurts. Every little bit hurts. Every night I cry, every night I sigh, every night I wonder why you treat me cold, yet you won't let me go.
If you look up the word marathon, it will tell you that the first person who ran 26.2 miles died. He died. And he was a runner. You are not a runner. You are especially not a marathon runner. But at the end of this, you will be.
Wow. I don't know about you, but I always get very emotional and excited with this commercial. And I have a challenge. Who is this ad from? Who is this ad? Or who is this ad about? I'm sorry, I have a problem with my, okay, now it's good. Nike, Azar. Okay, now, well, Wei Hong asked Adidas, insurance company. Well, let me tell you something. This ad is from that girl. Because actually, because our hero is the customer, the ad is from her story, from everybody that at some point tried to run a marathon, and that person wasn't suited to, just like that girl. And you know, they try and they go through the challenge and they are really transformed by it, and in the end they managed to finish the marathon. So the ad is from the customer, right? Oh, that's great, Selvi, you're running a marathon, that's great. So that ad is from the girl, but who is the brand behind that ad? Is Nike, of course. And how did you know about Nike? I think someone who wrote here, Azar told us that it was Nike. He wrote on the chat it was Nike. How did you know, Azar, that it was Nike? Only Nike do this kind of marketing. Oh, that's a good answer. But actually, there's a hint in this commercial that
you are not
kind of like
runner.
here.
You are especially
Check
not
it out
a
when she's
marathon.
running. Oh, you see here. Wait, I'm trying to.
But at the end of
You
this,
see the little logo over there? So yeah, there we find Nike's logo. And you see, what really amazes me about this commercial is that when I think about it, when I watch it with the lenses of the hero's journey, what I realize is that story about, you know, you're not a marathon runner, the first person who ran the marathon died, etc. I can clearly see that she is the hero going in the inmost cave of her life. She got into that specific moment, right? The inmost cave. And she's now trying to get the ordeal. And once she finishes the marathon, she has the reward where she can say, now I'm a marathon runner, you know? And she probably, in the beginning, she was there like, I don't know, maybe was a sedentary person, you know, maybe she was obese or she had some a health issue. And people started saying, you know, you need to change your health, your lifestyle, you need to become healthier, etc. And she tried to go to the gym and she didn't like it. She tried CrossFit, she didn't like it. She started running, but her legs were in pain and all this. At some point, she met Nike, and Nike brought to her a special T-shirt for her to use during the winter, a footwear, a sneaker that was better to run and more comfortable, an app that could help her track her running and all this. So she started running. She did 1 kilometer at first, and then 2 and 5 and 10, etc. She started being a part of a group of people who's running in her gym or in her city, in her neighborhood. And now she's running the marathon. That's exactly the picture that I have in mind when I watch this commercial. I don't know about you, but I think about that. And what you need to realize is that your marketing mix, the solution that you're bringing to the market, is the map that is going to drive you towards, is going to drive the hero towards his journey as to become the hero in the journey. So your solution is the map for him to get from refusing the call into the resurrection as the hero. Okay, that's what your solution is all about. And let's see another example. We have Apple, and this is a Apple commercial from an ad from 1977. And if I ask you, it's pretty clear who is the hero here in this ad. Why Apple II is the world's best-selling personal computer. And you have 15 colors, you have softwares that is ours, you have Apple peripherals, you have a live sound of music and all this. Apple is the proven computer, and Apple, and Apple II. So the hero here in this advertisement piece from Apple is actually the computer. It's not the customer, right? And what happens is that in 1997, they changed from that, and this got worse. Back in 1984 or 85 or something, when they were launching the Macintosh, they ran an 8-page ad into the New York Times, 8-page, just talking about the features and the advantages of the Macintosh against the competition. So really focused on the product and not on the customer. Now in 1997, they come up with Think Different. Now, who is the hero in this campaign? It's all of us. It's actually the genius of the past, and how we, if we use Apple computers, we can think different, just like those guys did. Einstein and Gandhi and Muhammad Ali and so many other great geniuses that they brought to this ad piece. Now, what was happening in Apple in 1997? Do you guys know? If you know Apple's history or Steve Jobs' history, actually, Steve Jobs was joining the company back because he got expelled in the 80s and he got back to the company in 1997. Now, the big question is, where was Steve Jobs during this period? Do you guys have any idea? And I think it will blow your minds that he was actually in, yes, he was building Next Corporation, but he was also in Hollywood. And in Hollywood, he was building Pixar. I don't know if you guys knew that. And actually, he bought Pixar from George Lucas. Remember the guy from Star Wars? So Pixar was his division for computer graphics. And Steve Jobs, once he got out of Apple, he started to invest in 2 companies, Next and Pixar. So he bought Pixar from George Lucas. And what was actually happening was that Steve Jobs, he was understanding the power of stories and how you build powerful stories. And that's what he brought into Apple, and how Apple could now change the way they related with the customer. And they were putting the customer in the center back again into their strategy. And you see, we have seen over and over again, Apple disrupting themselves. First with the iPod disrupting the Mac itself, and then the iPhone disrupting the iPod, and now probably the AirPod is going to be like, although it's part of the ecosystem of the iPhone, in the future we'll probably have just like the Apple Watch and the AirPod. They're disrupting the smartphone itself. And what we realize is that the focus of Apple is not anymore on their products or their story or Steve Jobs as the great founder, but is in us using their technology. And they come to us after 1997 as our mentors, the mentors to guide us in having 1,000 songs in our pocket, the mentors to guide us in having our lives in our pocket, just as Steve Jobs mentioned when he launches the iPhone. And that's actually the legacy that Apple has till this day. Check this out.
yourself a merry little Christmas. Let your heart be light. From now on, our troubles will be out of sight. Hang a shining star upon the highest bough and have yourself a merry little Christmas now.
Amazing, right? I always thought this commercial as one of the most impactful ones that have ever seen, and it's so amazing, right? And they're completely customer centric, and the hero is that little boy, and the iPhone is just like the mentor that guides him to transform his family's holidays. So that's how you use the power of storytelling in order to really engage with your audience and transform your business. Now, let me tell you a quick story from Wellness so we can finish this webinar. Wellness is a small gym here in the south of Brazil, and they were struggling with new competitors and the global CrossFit brand arriving in the region and all this. So they started struggling a little bit, and they asked us to do this company transformation process. And the first thing we did was to really understand their MTP and build their MTP based on this storytelling approach. And what we came up with their MTP was something like this. We believe in superpowers. We're born with superpowers. All children are born. When we are children, we are ninjas, superheroes, soccer stars, and from many other sports. But time goes by, and at some point, things get too serious for superheroes. We have to produce, to grow, to become adults, and suddenly we find ourselves standing still. Why do we miss this child magic that seems limitlessly capable? We find that this magic does not die, it just falls asleep. The sport allows us to rekindle the flame of self-confidence and overcoming. Physical exercise is a never-ending path of self-knowledge, and when a person knows himself, he understands that, yes, we are capable of incredible feats. We believe that all people are unlimited, and through physical exercise, we want to transform the world into a more active and a conscious place, returning the superhero that exists in each one of us. So that final phrase after this storytelling that is really hero-centric customer centric, right? We were born as superheroes, but then we refused the call of becoming superheroes because we become adults and we don't need to be creative and active or anything anymore. So wellness comes as the mentor to restore that superhero lifestyle or that superhero mindset in yourself through exercising. And that's the whole storytelling here. And the MTP became just this final part, you know, return the superhero that exists in you. That became their big brand motto. And we started changing all their marketing materials, the way they connected with people and all this. And in the end, what this company experienced was this cultural impact. We had this new intern coming into the company, and he said, you know, 1 week working with you changed my concept about exercises and what we can do as professionals in the physical education space. They also increased by 40% their revenue in just 3 months. They tripled their engagement in social media, but also something really interesting that happened was that people became to tell their story through social media with the impact of wellness and how did this wellness gym manage to change their lives. And we had like several people publishing that. And at some point, their strategy was just to like repost those content because it was so many people producing content for them, you know, telling their story to everybody else that they just kept reposting those customer success stories. And later on, there was something really interesting that happened. One of the founders posted something on Facebook, and a person made this huge complimentary comment, and he was the founder of their biggest competitor in the region. So that person over there was admiring them, you know, and that really struck us because, you know, when a competitor admires your work, that's something really powerful that we managed to get with this company. So I have here an exercise that I'll be adding into the Miro board that we are working during this webinar session. So we have this Miro board. Everyone that registered got access into this platform. And the first exercise that we have after you understand what the EXO framework is all about is to find your MTP and your purpose. And I'm going to add this framework that I built a few years ago here. So you can start working on understanding who is your hero, who is your customer, what is the journey that he lives in, and what is he refusing to do, and how you can come up as their mentor. And here you have other exercises that are going to help really transform your purpose into a massive transformative purpose that can really have a global impact and really become transformative. Okay, so make a good use of it. There are several videos here that help you understand how to work with those exercises. You have the outside-in approach to building a purpose, the inside-out approach, and then you have this to make your purpose become an MTP. And I'll be also adding this other framework that I just showed to you into this platform, so you can use it and really build the story of your brand, which I believe is the most important and most impactful thing that you can build on your project, because from that story you can really engage people, start to build a community. And that's what we're going to see on the upcoming webinars on this series. How after you engage them with your MTP, what do you do so you can grow by 10x? And that's basically it from my side.